Jefferson Pilot Sports present the best in college basketball, the Atlantic Coast Conference.
#1 Duke and Wake Forest set to have at it here in Winston-Salem. Let's take a look at our starting lineups, the low starting lineups. And for Duke, Antonio Lang with the game winner against Maryland a couple of days ago. Brian Davis and Laettner, and the Hills in the backcourt. Wake Forest with those four senior starters that we mentioned, King, Medlin, McQueen, and Tucker. And the sophomore is Rodney Rogers, who leads the team in rebounding and scoring at 21.2 points per game. Mike Krzyzewski has 98 ACC victories to his credit in 12 years at the helm of the Duke program. And his opposite number for Wake Forest is Dave Odom, who has beaten the Duke ball club just one time in 7 tries, but that one time came a couple of years ago when Duke was ranked #1 in the country, and Dave Odom's club knocked them off over in Greensboro. Christian Laettner and Chris King set the jump center here at Lawrence Joe Coliseum. Dick Paparo, Sam Croft, and Rick Hartzell are the officials today. This one's in the air, and it's won by Wake Forest and Phil Medlin.
Duke, of course, starts in the man-to-man defense. Thomas Hill takes the job of pressuring Derek McQueen, the point guard for Wake Forest.
Here's McQueen. Working up top now, King, guarded by Brian Davis. Shot clock down to 20 seconds on the initial possession of the game. Medlin inside, King missed it on Laettner, clearing the rebound.
Pretty good defense by the Duke Blue Devils. Wake Forest, of course, does not mind if the game is played at a relatively slow pace. They like to score when they run the clock down, however. Man-to-man defense for the Deacons.
With a slower tempo, now that Duke plays, possessions really become a big key. Not that many to go around these days when you face the Blue Devils.
Well, certainly not as many, Bob, but Duke is a very versatile basketball team. Krzyzewski comfortable playing either style. Great catch.
Good help by Medlin. Laettner missed the shot, but Lang is there. He rolls it off, and it's Rogers to clear. Ahead of the pack to Chris King, and he travels.
Awfully difficult to catch that ball and make a move all sort of in one motion, and that's what Chris King was forced to do. Wake Forest can get out and run. Duke back very effectively on defense that time.
Turnovers have not been a problem for the Deacons of late. This club averages just about 12 a game. Davis driving, finger rolls it in.
You know, we talked about the versatility of the Duke Blue Devils. They can take any one of their guys, it seems, and place them out at the point guard spot and create a defensive mismatch, and that's what Davis did, driving right around King.
Rogers got it around Laettner, got the beautiful lob and put it in.
Speaking of a guy who creates defensive mismatch.
Oh, my goodness. No sophomore jinx for that young man. We are tied at 2, and this one is swatted out of bounds. The Deacons have won 5 of their last 7. Their only losses on the road to Florida State and North Carolina. Laettner. Outside Davis. Inside to Hill. Lang rather fumbled and recovered.
And we talked about Grant Hill replacing Bobby Hurley at the point. Antonio Lang is a guy who's getting a lot of minutes. Hill converts right there. But Antonio Lang is getting some experience in big basketball games, and this is probably the biggest that he's played in.
The silver lining, of course, to the cloud, Dan, is the fact that when Hurley comes back, you've got some guys getting some key minutes, like a Lang, that's just going to help Duke be a better basketball team. If that's possible. I don't know how you can get much better than #1 in the country and national champs. But Anthony Tucker puts this one home, and we're tied at 4.
Wake Forest has been able to run their offense, Bob.
That's something that teams haven't had the luxury of doing against the Duke defense with Hurley in there, as Laettner scores his first basket of the game.
Duke trying to set a trap at half court.
That one kicked by Laettner. The Deacons defeated Christian Laettner and the Blue Devils in this building last year. This was the first time, though, that a top-ranked team has played in the 3-year history of Joel Coliseum. And it is packed to the rafters.
Duke in a 2-3 zone on that inbounds play.
Duke leading 6-4. Medlin inside, cutting beautifully to the hoop. Chris King puts in his first bucket. Nice look, nice cut.
Coming from behind that zone. Tough to see the cutter. King with a very aggressive cut. Good catch shot.
Tied at 6.
It's a tough matchup for Thomas Hill. He throws the ball away right there, but Derek McQueen is one of the best defensive guards in this league. And Duke really needs Thomas Hill's outside shooting. Without Hurley in the lineup, Hill is really the only consistent outside threat that they possess. And so Derek McQueen's defensive work is going to be important today for Dave Odom and his ball club.
6'9" Derek Hicks comes into the game, and Phil Medlin to the Wake Forest bench. Wake Forest looking to take the lead.
Laettner, of course, not even coming out against Hicks.
McQueen driving, kicks it off, and the dunk. Oh, the junior from Raleigh. Nothing doing outside, but boy, when he got it inside, he knew what to do with it.
Great penetration by Derek McQueen. We saw in yesterday's North Carolina State game that penetration and passing it to a guy inside can be very effective.
A timeout on the floor in Winston-Salem. 15:51 left in the first half. We'll be back with more of our coverage after this word from Budweiser.
Wake Forest off to the early 2-point lead. Wake has been getting easy shots. The matchup with Derek McQueen is going to be difficult for Duke, and you see why. The penetration, the pass to Hicks for the dunk. Bob, Wake Forest shooting 4 of 5.
This is a team, Dan, Wake that's shooting over 50% for the year. And of course, Duke is the leader in the country and the ACC at 55% from the field. So 2 excellent shooting teams going at it here in Winston-Salem today, 8-6. And McQueen is going to stick to Thomas Hill underneath. Tucker guarding Grant Hill, and that gives the Deacons a good size matchup out front. Laettner kicks it out to Thomas Hill, and that's a travel. No, a foul. Foul called on McQueen.
That was a real good job by Christian Laettner to hold that ball until basically the whole defense was around him, and then to find Thomas Hill. McQueen, knowing that Thomas Hill is the best 3-point threat out there, really attacked hard, but unfortunately for Wake Forest, he committed the foul. Got to look at Mike Krzyzewski on the bench. I think if you're Mike Krzyzewski, got to be a little concerned. His team doesn't seem very intense here early in the basketball game.
Lang collects this one. Thomas Hill
What a move!
And puts it in. He just exploded through the lane.
You wouldn't expect that he would be able to be that successful against McQueen with a move like that, but he just left him standing.
Tied at 8. And tied at every 2-point junction. Rogers. This is Trelawney Owens in the game, number 40. Dangerous cross-court pass, but Duke can only knock it out of bounds.
The ball was headed right for the hands of Antonio Lang, but Thomas Hill, unaware, knocked it out of bounds.
Lob intercepted by Thomas Hill. Deacons have turned it over twice in the opening moments. Inside, Laettner lays it in.
That was a great job by Laettner to get himself positioned inside and then keep going to the basket. Hicks just not strong enough to hold him out of there.
Owens to the bucket. Backs it in softly off the window. Lonnie Owens, the sophomore, putting it in.
And what a great second half to the season this guy has had so far. He's really come on for Wake Forest. Gives him a very, very potent inside threat coming off that bench.
He's played so well, you kind of forget that he had knee surgery, arthroscopic, back in late December. Tied at 10. Laettner on the baseline. Backs up behind the 3-point line, and you still have to guard him out there. Here's a travel by Lang. Stay tuned at halftime for details on how you can help choose the True Value Dream Team. 10-10, 13:36 left in the first half.
Each team sort of impresses me as playing a little cautiously here early in the game, Bob. It's been almost a total half-court kind of game.
A very methodical pace to the game. Rogers finds the open man, and Tucker outside. Anthony had just 4 points in the first matchup in Durham, which was won by Duke, 84-68. He scored 4 today.
Very good ball movement by Wake Forest. Duke in his own defense. Wake moving the ball effectively. Tucker with the open jumper.
Lincoln's on top by 2. Laettner drives, hammered, a blocking foul.
Rogers trying to get in there and bar Laettner's way to the basket. Pretty good idea. He just didn't get himself established in time. Duke obviously feels that they can get the ball to Laettner. There's Owens jumping out at Laettner. Great recognition by Christian Laettner to put the ball on the deck and go around Rogers picking up the foul.
First on Rodney, second on the team. Cherokee Parks is in. And Antonio Lang to the Duke bench. And Laettner to the foul line.
It's awfully hard to defend a guy with his inside skills who can move out and shoot it and then put it on the deck and take it around you.
A 30-point game against Maryland this week. A rare free throw miss for Christian. 82% coming in. That 30-point effort against the Terrapins. Third personal best at Duke. And 33 against Georgia Tech earlier this year. 12-11. Wake Forest leading by 1, and Chris King coming back into the game. Lonnie Owens goes out.
We also have the first Duke substitution, Bob. Cherokee Parks now in the basketball game, laying out. Parks is another guy who's gotten a few more minutes in the absence of Bobby Hurley. And here's Duke again with the half-court defense.
Rogers goes in. Medlin finishes it off. Well, he got around Laettner in a hurry. Parks came to help, but boy, that was quite a move by Rogers.
It's a great move by Rogers, and Laettner was mesmerized by the move, Bob. He continued to stand outside, so when Rogers missed, nobody was there to battle Medlin for the ball.
And Rogers takes it away from Parks, and Grant Hill catches up with the play and tips it away. Boy, Rogers had that dunk measured from about mid-court.
Now watch Grant Hill come from the wing. He sees his teammate in trouble, and suddenly he's going to explode into your picture. Wow.
Deacons lead it by 3.
Man-to-man for Duke.
Rogers. Inside pass off King's hands and off the leg of a Duke player, and it's out of bounds. That one off the leg of Grant Hill. Wake ball with 30 seconds on the shot clock.
Position inside.
King back to Rogers, fakes, lays it in.
Everybody on the Duke team had a swipe at that basketball, but Rodney Rogers sticking it in the basket.
16-11 Wake Forest, and Duke still looking for a spark. Parks, Medlin the rebound. Here's a whistle. Tucker turned it over, carried the basketball at the top of the key. We've got a timeout on the floor here in Winston-Salem with 11:32 left in the half. Wake Forest up by 5.
On the strength of 8 for 10 field goal shooting, Wake Forest off to a 5-point lead. You wonder why you got to sort of be strong to play inside. Watch Rodney Rogers moves Laettner out of the way, deals with Grant Hill and Brian Davis. Now penetration inside. Thomas Hill takes a swipe at it. Grant Hill a swipe. Laettner another swipe. And Rogers, through all those blue bodies, still gets it in the basket.
6'7", and a chiseled 235 pounds. 16-11. Wake Forest, we mentioned, Dan, the Wake shooting 80%. Duke's at 3 out of 5. But I think the key thing is there, they've only attempted 5 shots, 9 shots, and made 5 of them here in the first half of the game. That's not many attempts at all. Of course, Thomas Hill makes up some ground with that 3-point.
And Doggett in the game for Derek McQueen immediately gives up the 3-point shot.
Rogers, a blocking foul on Davis.
We talked about Christian Laettner's versatility, a big guy who's able to put it on the deck from the perimeter and take it to the basket. Rodney Rogers shows you his versatility too. And again, Laettner's left standing outside like he's nailed to the floor.
Be sure to stay tuned at halftime for the Norwegian Cruise Line Trivia Contest. You could win a great cruise for 2. Anthony Tucker gets a breather. Eric Hicks returns. Rogers triggers to McQueen, who's back in the game.
Boy, Rogers and Laettner are really pushing at one another.
Rodney goes around, finds Park, shoots over him, and scores. Rodney was 6 here in the first half.
Laettner is playing Rogers so heavily to his Rogers left, basically giving Rogers the baseline. Have to believe he's expecting help to come, and that help has not been forthcoming.
Thomas Hill just beat the count and got rid of it to Davis. And Davis sticks it. We're talking about a player who's improved offensively by leaps and bounds. It's Brian Davis. 18-16. The Wake lead is 2.
And here's Rogers against Laettner outside.
King working on Davis.
That's a great job moving his feet. Davis really did a nice job.
Doggett. Rogers from the corner. Brian Davis runs it ahead for Duke on the break to Laettner and puts it in. Boy, an impossible angle, and Christian Laettner still got it to go.
What a pass, what a catch. The big guy out running the floor. I don't know how Davis sees to make this pass, but the one-handed grab by Laettner, he's able to control it and get it up to the basket and gives Rodney Rogers a little elbow for good measure as they separate. It's a very aggressive play by Davis, a lot of confidence that his big guy is going to catch the ball. Laettner shows that confidence not misplaced. That was a great catch.
1 for 2 at the line for Laettner. Missed that one. Medlin and Rogers, and it's going to be Rodney. You get credit for the rebound. 2 fouls on Rogers now with 9:50 left in the first half. Tied at 18. McQueen. And that is a foul on Duke. Laettner's first. Second team foul against Duke.
And that's really a big foul because that negates a Duke turnover. Right here, some nifty ball handling by McQueen. Gets it inside, tries to pass it. You see Brian Davis coming up with the basketball. Laettner just not able to control his body. Runs into McQueen for the foul.
Pushing and shoving there. Lecture time from Dick Picaro. Aside. Phil Medlin now featured at the point, but not for long. Here's Tucker.
It's not the same thing as Rogers out there. Now we'll see. Rogers goes out with almost 10 minutes left in the half. McQueen misses the 3, but we'll see how Wake Forest reacts to Rogers being out of the game.
Grant Hill. Thomas Hill. 3. Got it. Second 3-pointer of the game. Thomas Hill with 8. And the Blue Devils have taken a 3-point lead.
And Dick Picaro is warning each of the benches to leave the ball alone after it goes through the basket. Next time somebody plays around with the basketball after it goes through the hoop, it'll be a technical foul.
Owens now up top to King. The runner banks in. Chris with 4. Deacons within 1.
Wake Forest has now made 10 of 14 field goal attempts, Bob. Duke is not too shabby. They're 9 of 13.
Thomas Hill floats another one home. Double figures for the 21st time this year, and he's done it in the first 12 minutes of the game. Tipped by Park, stolen by Davis.
And when Duke gets that turnover, they're able to turn it into a fast break. Mike Krzyzewski slows them down.
Yeah, we saw the Laettner lay-in. We saw the Thomas Hill 3-point shot a minute ago in transition. And now back to the half-court game. Hill. Up and in.
Well, I think the Duke Blue Devils really feel like they have an advantage against Wake Forest in the half-court game because of their overall versatility and their size inside.
And doing it, too, with Rogers waiting to get back into the scorer's team. Tucker inside. King has to rainbow it. Left it short. Tipped by Medlin. Rebound to Owens.
The problem for the Blue Devils has not been on the offensive end, but they can't stop Wake Forest on this end of the court.
Three-pointer. Thomas Hill with a steal. And it's a travel when Thomas Hill hit the floor. In possession of the ball. And we've got a timeout here in Winston. 14 of Duke's 21 to 25 points have come right under the bucket. They've also gotten 2 3-pointers from Thomas Hill. Tucker stops and pops, bangs it in. He'll try to complete a 3-point play as Thomas Hill picks up the foul.
You expect your leaders, your seniors, to step up for you in big basketball games, and Tucker certainly is doing a nice job early. Takes the measure of Grant Hill. That's a great stop inside, and Thomas Hill gets that foul because he swings that arm. If he doesn't swing the arm, he probably doesn't get the foul.
Anthony Tucker had hit only 4 of his last 12 free throws. Tickles the twine with that. 25-23, Duke by 2.
Of course, that's been a problem for Wake Forest, is at the free throw line, they shoot under 63% as a team. Oh, my.
Too long. Tipped by Laettner and out of bounds. Right off his fingertips.
Owens doing a very good job being physical with Laettner under the basket, not letting Laettner get to the spot he wanted, and as a result, Grant Hill's pass goes high and out of bounds.
Dan, when you talk about Duke getting the ball inside pretty much at will, if you're Wake Forest, how do you combat that? More pressure on the ball outside?
Well, that's the best way to do it, is make it hard for those guys to look and see what the options they have inside. And I think that you can be a little more physical inside as well, as Owens was on that occasion.
Shot clock at 16 seconds. Rogers will take it and hit it. Rodney with 8. And the Deacons have come back to tie this one at 25.
That's real good offensive movement by Wake Forest. Duke played pretty well defensively for about 30 seconds, but Rogers broke loose. Thomas Hill trying to post up inside against McQueen.
Grant Hill. Laettner outside. Medlin on him. Whistle. Travel. Kenny Blakeney is coming into the game for Duke and Mike Krzyzewski. Thomas Hill is the man who's going to go out of the game. That'll move Grant Hill, at least defensively now, down inside. He's going to take Tucker. They'd love to post him up. Here's Medlin.
With Medlin in the ballgame, Laettner really playing his defensive position in the center of the lane, trying to help out.
Tucker scores. Grant Hill the foul.
Tucker's made all 4 of his attempts, Bob, and he's got a shot at his second three-point play in a row.
Boy, Tucker with excellent job here to move without the ball, then sticks the jump shot.
Tucker with the one dribble gets Grant Hill moving away from him with the real good stop, immediately up for the shot. And now we've got a technical foul.
A technical foul has been called.
I believe it's against Mike Krzyzewski.
Dick Paparo coming over. I think it's
against Laettner.
The free throw by Tucker is good. Are they calling a contact technical on Laettner? Or just unsportsmanlike contact? Okay. Now the announcement on Laettner.
Well, of course, under the new rules, if it's a contact technical foul, even though it's a technical foul, it would count against Laettner for his 5 fouls toward disqualification, but if it's just an unsportsmanlike technical, then it will not count against the 5. And so we're going to have to get that clarified by the official scorer at some point.
So Tucker puts it home.
And the clarification being whether it was ruled as a contact technical foul or just an unsportsmanlike technical foul.
Well, Christian's going to come out of the game, and of course the Wake students are going nuts, and along with the rest of the fans.
And Wake Forest has run off 9 points in a row, Bob.
They have gone from 5 down to 4 up, 29-25, and looking for more. Rogers, it's out of bounds. Wake possession. Last touch by Lang.
Duke's going to try to pick up the defensive intensity now. We understand that it was not a contact technical, therefore it will not count against the 5 fouls for disqualification. So Christian Laettner gets an unsportsmanlike technical.
So the Deacons leading 29-25. 5:45 remaining here in the first half. Rogers. Inside it goes, and Davis just pushing King from behind, picks up his second foul.
Davis pushing King with his lower body. Gets those legs in there, just moves him right out. That's an excellent call. It's only 5 team fouls against the Blue Devils. And you just sort of feel the intensity in this game, Bob, that didn't seem to be there at the beginning. Gradually starting to build here.
Tucker.
There's that one dribble, the jump stop, and the jumper. Now 6 of 6 for Tucker.
Anthony had 31 against the Blue Devils in this building last year when Wake Forest beat them. Wake now leading by 6. Right back into the Duke lineup, and Davis will go out.
Very interesting lineup on the court right now for the Duke Blue Devils. Blakeney, Parks, Lang, 3 guys who haven't seen very much action in big basketball games, along with Thomas Hill and Grant Hill.
Bill Bedlin looking for some help. Squeezes it into McQueen. Here is McQueen, short with the 3-pointer. Blakeney in to get the rebound. Boy, the great thing for Wake Forest, Dan, is they have been able to make this run without having to play Rodney Rogers.
Well, they put Rogers back in the game at the start of the run, and now once they've sort of gotten to a comfortable lead or a 6-point lead, Rogers back on the bench. Dave Odom doesn't want to risk that 3rd personal foul.
Grant Hill nearly stripped. Tucker fumbles it, but he was on the end line. The ball out of bounds to Duke. And the possession clock shows 23 seconds.
Derek McQueen has really given Blakeney all Blakeney wants out there. McQueen doing a nice job not only against Blakeney, but it was McQueen who stepped down inside and batted the ball away from Grant Hill.
31-25. Wake Forest leading #1 Duke here in Winston-Salem. Hill blocked by Tucker. Foul on Tucker.
Grant Hill giving Tucker a little of his own medicine, putting it on the deck, driving into the lane, going up for the jump shot. The look on Dave Odom's face right there sort of says it all. Grant Hill operating on the wing with the left-handed dribble. He's going to take 2 dribbles and then the stop. Tucker in pretty good defensive position, asking for the jump ball, but he got him on the arm. Tucker is one of those guys who just looks like he means business out there.
The Blue Devils, 1 of 3, now 1 of 4 at the foul line today. And they have gone a long time without scoring. 4 minutes and 8 seconds to be exact. Grant misses another one, and Medlin gets it ahead to Chris King.
Well, when you're playing a half-court game, Bob, you run the risk of these long stretches without scoring. If you're in the up-and-down full-court game, your transition baskets generally are better to you than that.
Trelawney Owens the offensive rebound, blocked. Grant Hill takes it away. Thomas Hill taken King in the middle of McQueen. Up top. They missed the jam. We've got a whistle and a foul called on Wake Forest.
The foul is going to be called against Chris King. I think Derek McQueen was throwing that ball to Anthony Tucker, but King never saw Tucker, so you had two of the guys going up there after the alley-oop pass, and they just destroy Grant Hill under the basket here. Hill going for the ball just gets wiped out, and King is the guy who's going to get the foul call.
Timeout on the floor, 3:43 left first half. Wake leads Duke. We'll be right back. This is the #1 team in the ACC at the line at 76%. The announcers for this game selected and compensated by Raycom and Jefferson Pilot Sports, and the use of this broadcast without their express permission is prohibited. And we give it grudgingly. Here's Davis out front to Thomas Hill. 3:30 left in the half. Laettner back in the game. Wheeling up and off. Lang has it. He finds some room and gets fouled. Or I should say makes some room. And the personal on Trelawney Owens.
You get the ball inside to Laettner, and he really draws a crowd. And because watch everybody come to Laettner with the dribble, the pivot. Now here comes Owens. Nobody's available to block out Lang, who sort of shoved Owens out of the way to get the spot.
Antonio looking for his first points of the game. Rodney Rogers coming back for Wake Forest with 3:24 left in the half, and Rogers with two personals.
Of course, Lang was the guy who had that big offensive rebound against Maryland, and it was on exactly that kind of a play. Laettner shoots the ball, draws the help. Nobody's available to block out Lang.
Antonio had 12 points and 6 rebounds in that game against the Terps. He picks up his second foul shot right here. 31-27. Wake Forest leading. Duke went nearly 5 minutes without scoring. 4:54.
And Rogers back in the basketball game really needs to be careful. Does not want to pick up that third personal foul, but has to play aggressively.
A calculated risk for the Deacons here. Travel on Derek Hicks.
Bob, earlier in the basketball game, Laettner was playing back in the lane area and letting his man handle the ball outside. That time you saw Laettner get out, put some pressure on Hicks, and as a result, Duke creates the turnover.
Wake Forest leading by 4, 2:55 to play first half.
Boy, Laettner really getting bounced around inside. He takes a little walk out of bounds. He's trying to sneak in.
Davis. Rogers lays off his Lang backs up. Shot clock at 12 seconds. Laettner guarded by Hicks. Christian, 3 seconds on the shot clock to Grant Hill. The shot clock expires. They let it go, and Wake Forest rebounds.
Got the shot off just before the horn.
Tucker. And out of bounds to Duke.
You know, Bob, Tucker's had success early in the basketball game, catching the ball, one dribble, and then the shot. That time he did not take the dribble. The ball was partially deflected. At least I hope it was partially deflected.
2-minute mark, first half.
When you're playing that transition game, Bob, and getting baskets from turnovers, you don't have to earn every one. Duke, as Davis misses that one, they've had to struggle for every basket basically they've gotten today playing against the set Wake Forest defense.
A 4-point Wake lead. And a steal by Brian Davis.
See how much easier it is when you create the turnovers?
31-29. The Wake lead is down to 2. Big swing there. Deeks had a chance to get a little breathing room going into the locker room at halftime.
Wake Forest has gone 4 minutes without scoring. And now we get a foul on Chris King.
Pushed off for position. His second foul. So it's a foul and a turnover. That will give Wake Forest 17 fouls, so Duke will have a chance to shoot some free throws.
The game inside is extremely physical, and Dave Odom obviously doesn't agree with the call, but his problem now is he's got 2 of his inside guys, Rogers and King, each with 2 personal fouls. And this game is just so physical, it looks like you're going to need them all before the end of the game. There's Rogers and King.
Brian Davis to shoot 1 and 1.
We talked about Derek McQueen's defense against Thomas Hill, but I think we have to say something about Thomas Hill's defense against Derek McQueen. They haven't really called the name of McQueen on the offensive end of the court.
He has not scratched. 7 points for Brian Davis. Phil Medlin coming into the Wake lineup. Derek Hicks to the bench. And Marty Clark waiting at the scorer's table for Duke. He'll come in for Davis if Brian can hit this free throw. 1:18 remaining. Davis puts it in. Goes to the bench with 8 points, and Duke has come back to tie it at 31. There's Marty, the sophomore from Illinois.
Bob, and as you said, Duke went almost 5 minutes without scoring. Wake Forest, the last time they scored was with 5:18 left in the first half. So they're over the 4-minute mark now without a point.
Rogers, that's an offensive foul.
Offensive foul on Rogers.
Rodney's third.
And how many times do you see it, Bob? A guy in foul trouble either fouls out of the game or gets himself in much deeper on the offensive end, not on the defensive end. And that's what happened to Rodney Rogers.
So he must come out in favor of Owens.
Rogers with that left hand just pushes Antonio Lang away, and not much contact there. But the contact obviously gives him an advantage in that he can get open, and that's a call you have to make.
1 and 1 for Lang. Three points for Antonio Lang. Antonio, 59% at the foul line this year, gets the bonus free throw. 32-31 Duke. 33-31. We've had 6 lead changes here in the first half. Duke with some mild pressure, now relaxing as McQueen brings it up. Under a minute to play in the half. Chris King. High back, pops out. Lang rebounds.
And Wake Forest has had to earn every bucket that they've got. Duke playing Duke set defense, and normally that's pretty good.
I'd say so. Clark, backdoor alley-oop, the jam for Grant Hill. And Duke, just like that, has taken a 4-point lead. McQueen driving.
Boy, great movement by Thomas Hill.
McQueen misses. Owens rolls it in on the follow. 35-33.
That's Wake Forest's first basket in 5 minutes.
Grant Hill looks to the bench. They decide what they want to do with it, and Duke's into its offense. Marty Clark to Laettner, off his hands. 4 seconds, 3, 2. Laettner is double dribbled and will give Wake a chance with 1.8 seconds to go in the half. So Dave Odom is going to put Rogers in. And Parks will come in for Duke. Now is
Rogers is going to inbound the basketball. He's got a great arm.
I should say.
And that's what he's in there for. He's in there to throw the ball.
And down it goes. Grant Hill knocks it out of bounds. 1.1 second.
That was a heck of a throw.
It went from 1-8 to 1-1. So Wake Forest ball at the sideline in front of the Duke bench.
The only reason that much time went off the clock is because the pass was so hard. When Hill hit it, it went flying out of bounds and took a long time before it came to rest out of bounds. Now Rogers has got to be very, very careful.
Inside Owens, tipped away. Duke will go to the locker room with a 2-point lead. Intense. And the 2-point margin would indicate these two teams that first met in a college game in this state in 1906. And the coaches now are going to get together with Dick Paparo.
Mike Krzyzewski wants to talk to Dick Paparo about something that involves that last play, the scoring, the timing. I'm not exactly sure.
He just can't believe that play lasted just 7/10 of a second. But Dick Paparo has it all under control. We're at halftime here at Lawrence Joe Coliseum in Winston-Salem with the Duke Blue Devils, #1 in the country and the ACC leaders, with a 2-point lead over the Wake Forest Demon Deacons. Everybody cheering on the Deacons here at Lawrence Joe Coliseum in their own special way. Here are the 4 keys to the game, and the free throw percentage up for Wake Forest by 13 percentile over the regular season, but nothing outside.
Well, of course, in a half-court game, as you get down to the end, if it continues to be a tight game, then that free throw percentage is going to become very important. And those 3-point shots, you can get 3 points instead of 2 on trips down the court. That's to your advantage.
Here's 3 for Laettner.
Speaking of 3 to your advantage, Laettner moves outside and hits it.
And he just passed to Danny Ferry for 3rd all-time on the Duke scoring list. King. Rogers. He was stuck out of the bucket, got it up over the rim and in for his 12th point.
He and Lang are really banging one another on both ends of the court, and I would think that that has to be to the advantage of Duke.
Duke leading by 1. Thomas Hill up and in for 2 more. He had 10 in the first half. His first second-half basket.
And that's the first time, really, that Duke has been able to use Hill's size advantage down on the interior against McQueen.
Tucker drives that one home. 15 points for Anthony Tucker. Grant Hill barrels in.
Tough shot.
Tipped up and in.
As Grant Hill tipped it up and in.
Tipped in his own miss.
Everybody standing around watching the basketball, but not Grant Hill. What a great job to bounce up.
46-43. Duke leading. 16:25 to play in the game. McQueen. Missed opportunity from 3-point range.
Duke playing a little zone that time.
Grant Hill ahead. Davis. That's a block on Medlin. Great concentration for Brian Davis. Anticipated the contact all the way.
But Brian Davis just explodes to the basket. Medlin does not have time to get set. Medlin was ahead of him going down the court, but Davis used his speed to get to the spot first. That's an excellent play by Davis.
And Brian will be shooting to finish off a 3-point play. Trelawney Owens comes in. Medlin with his first foul. It's going to be Chris King to go out of the game.
And we talk about Duke being more of a half-court team right now, but they obviously can still run that fast break whenever the opportunity presents itself. They have made their choices wisely today. That was just a great play by Davis.
11 for Brian Davis, and Duke has its biggest lead today, 6, 49-43.
And now pressure in the backcourt.
Medlin in the middle, over to King. He'll attack the bucket, and a blocking foul on Duke. And it's on Davis, his 3rd.
And you know that Dave Odom had to be sitting right there on the edge of his seat. Of course, Dave doesn't sit down, he kneels down over there, but anytime Rogers is involved in contact like that, it's got to be a matter of great concern to Dave Odom.
Out front, McQueen.
Duke 2-3 zone once again.
The outside strength as Lang kicks it out of bounds, and a reset of the shot clock. The outside strength for the Deeks right now with McQueen and Tucker, but Derek's been awfully cold from the outside.
Now with Duke in the zone defense, you get a lot of different guys who can put bodies on Rodney Rogers. Now Laettner's a big guy, but I don't know that I would want to match up with Rodney in there. Wake Forest is a team, Bob, that shoots the ball very well from the floor, but they get an awful lot of their buckets inside. They're not really a strong perimeter team.
Tucker really the only long-range threat of the 5 guys on the floor right now. As McQueen is cold. Owens. They don't have to worry about it outside. They got Rogers inside.
Duke trying to defend the perimeter in that particular defense. Wake Forest, with their patience, just drew the Blue Devils further and further from the basket, and then some excellent passing results in the score.
The Duke lead stands at 4. Here's Laettner all the way in.
And the foul's going to be called against Tucker. Laettner just exploding to the basket.
Second foul on Anthony Tucker.
What you have to hope if you're Wake Forest is that the help is going to come very quickly. I thought they called the foul against Tucker, but I couldn't tell from the replay. Could have been Owens, could have been Medlin. There was a lot of guys that got a piece of Laettner as he was going by.
They've officially given it to Medlin, his second. Christian Laettner's 13th point of the game.
On that replay, you could see clearly Wake Forest simply not stepping into the path of Laettner quickly enough. The help not coming soon enough, and as a result, Laettner gets 2 from the free throw line.
He's got 14 points in the game. Deeks attack quickly. Rogers inside Tucker, and Laettner got him in the arm. Second on Christian. Last year when Duke played it here, they established the all-time attendance record. They have broken it today. 14,673. The paid attendance here in Winston-Salem. Anthony Tucker will be stepping up to the stripe. He's in some very big offensive games, as you can imagine, for Wake Forest. He averages 12.5 per contest. Misses the free throw, though. He's hit 3 out of 5 in the game.
Dave Odom complaining about the activity of the Blue Devils on the free throw lane.
Lang rebounds. So there was that foul shooting you talked about, Dan. Coming up to bite the Deacons.
Wake Forest only a 63% free throw shooting team on the year, and in a close game, you're going to need to shoot better than that.
Davis. Thomas Hill will take it and hit it. Three-pointer. His third of the game. 54-45. Duke by 9. Biggest Blue Devil advantage.
Thomas Hill is very quiet and had a heck of a basketball game. Duke again in the zone defense, trying to match up against the perimeter. Ooh, Rogers comes through and just belts Laettner, establishing position.
Rogers. Bodies careening. And another blocking foul on Davis.
Duke in the zone defense is going to have some people to help out anytime anybody penetrates into the lane. Davis, however, picks up his 4th personal foul. And again, Rogers in another situation where if the call goes the other way, it's his 4th personal foul. Rogers certainly continuing to play very aggressively despite the 3 fouls.
You'd have to categorize it as on the edge. There's Lang going out. Parks is in. Marty Clark is also into the Blue Devil lineup for Davis.
And Davis has been an offensive factor in the ballgame today, so the Blue Devils may feel his loss.
Rogers fakes, drives, banks, scores.
Wow.
16 for Rogers.
He's made all 4 of his field goal attempts in the second half.
Stripped by Rogers, picked up by McQueen. Deacons looking to run. Back it comes to Tucker. And the rebound to Hicks. Deacons get another shot at it. Now McQueen with it. Setting up against the Duke zone.
That was an important defensive series for Wake Forest. They need to convert now on the offensive end.
Rogers inside to Hicks. Back to Rogers. Around Parks. Hill came over. Ball out of bounds. Last touch by Duke.
Boy, Rogers got himself in there, surrounded by Blue Devils. I don't know how Wake Forest kept the ball.
13 minutes remaining in the game.
That zone is a matchup zone defense, Bob. They're not standing around in the zone, and the zone by Duke really looks like a big zone. People have their hands up. It's tough for Wake Forest to see.
McQueen pushes it too long. Tipped by Laettner and controlled by Laettner. Christian back up to Hill now.
Parks is the guy that slammed that ball to the floor, Bob, with a great play. He couldn't get the rebound. And then nice hustle by Laettner to go run it down. Laettner taking a breather.
Don't blame him. Grant Hill now controls it out front. 20 seconds on the shot clock. Thomas Hill over McQueen, off balance, airballs it, and Rogers comes out with it. He's got McQueen on a wing, gives it to him, and Derrick, and it blocked tremendously by Grant Hill. Duke is running. The bounce to Laettner, and he somehow stuffed it in. Incredible play by Laettner. And a technical foul for hanging on the rim. But I'm telling you, I don't know how you control the ball well enough to even dunk it.
Bob, and I think that's what Mike Krzyzewski is so upset about with this particular technical foul call. Now here comes Thomas Hill, just pins that baby on the board. Now watch Laettner in full stride. This is an incredibly difficult catch. He's going full speed. Now you're allowed to hang on the rim to avoid injury. And I don't think he was showboating there. He was going so fast, hanging on the rim, stopped himself.
Now that's 2 technicals on Laettner.
That's not an unsportsmanlike technical there, though. Laettner, I think, with swinging the feet is what got that technical foul call. Mike Krzyzewski would make the argument and did make the argument that Laettner was simply trying to keep himself from running into the basket support.
Derrick McQueen hit the first free throw. And the second. 1 for 2.
Missed the first free throw.
He's got 3 points in the game. And a timeout on the floor. 11:51 left in the game. Duke leading 56-48. We'll be right back.
Duke Blue Devils with a 56-48 lead. And now this is what the official sees as Laettner dunks the basketball. He swings on the rim, and just at the end, you can see Laettner's mouth open as he starts yelling, and that's when the technical came. I think the official is willing to believe that he's just hanging on the rim to stop himself until he starts yelling, and then the official calls the technical foul. You got to remember, that young man has a reputation around the league.
Stay tuned for the Players of the Game Award, brought to you by Nations Bank. 11:51 remaining. Second half. Wake Forest trailing Duke 56-48. Here's Rogers. Right by Laettner. Going baseline is Rodney. And he puts it home. 18 for Rogers today. He had 18 the first time these two teams met at Durham.
Little confusion on the part of the Blue Devils, Bob, about who was matched up against whom.
Grant Hill.
Boy, that's a tough play, and Rogers just gave Laettner a belt coming out of from under the basket.
58-50, Duke. Here's Rogers. Around to Tucker.
Duke stays in the zone.
Rogers.
A great play by Grant Hill.
Reached around, got a hand on it to knock it loose. Held ball. Possession arrow favors Wake Forest. 10:40 remaining in the game. You take a look at the arrow and the keeper of the arrow.
And to Dave Odom, the keeper of the arrow.
10:40 left in the game. 58-50, Duke leading. And Anthony Tucker to get it in. Medlin on the sideline. Now it goes over to Owens. Again, Wake looking to attack the Duke zone.
Bob, and one interesting point we might make, that technical foul called against Christian Laettner was his second technical. If he gets another technical foul, he's gone.
Any kind of technical foul.
That's correct. The third technical foul is considered to be a flagrant technical foul, and flagrant by definition means you get booted from the game.
Here's Grant Hill to Laettner.
Boy, that is a tough shot.
Right over Medlin. Rogers rebounds.
Rogers
Clark
doesn't see Clark.
coming from behind, and Marty knocks it out of bounds.
Good hustle by Clark.
And here he comes.
Rogers actually misdribbled the ball just as Clark got there, and had Rogers not misdribbled the ball, I think Clark would have stolen it.
Under 10 to play in the game. Wake's offense down to a crawl against the zone. In, it's tipped, and Clark had it, lost it. Owens out of bounds. Duke ball.
Well, the Duke zone defense, again, is a matchup zone defense. It's a very big zone because everybody's got their hands up, and they're really doing a good job playing in the passing lanes.
Grant Hill walks it up. You'll see Laettner come into your picture here in a moment. He's down in midcourt. Duke starting to spread the floor just a bit here.
Seconds on the shot clock.
58-50. Duke on top.
Duke just running some time.
Grant Hill spins in the lane, forced it, but hit it.
Boy, what a player.
And a technical foul has been called.
The technical foul.
Krzyzewski.
Now, was that on Mike or was that on one of the players for handling the basketball after it went through the net? Remember, very early in the basketball game, Dick Paparo warned both teams that once the ball goes through, you got to run down the court and not handle the ball. One of the Duke players, I think it's Antonio Lang, as the ball comes through, he's going to take it, and he's going to toss it. Of course, he tosses it right to Medlin.
So Lang picks up, that's the third technical in this game. 2 on Laettner, 1 on Lang now. The way Dick pointed at Mike Krzyzewski, I thought it initially was on Lang. But it is McQueen to put it in.
Well, now, while there's been 3 technicals in the basketball game, only one of them was an unsportsmanlike technical.
We really have to be careful as to which technicals are charged to whom, and those that are applied to the head coach.
Well, any unsportsmanlike technical is applied to the head coach, and you get 2 unsportsmanlike technicals.
Wake Forest has picked up 5 points on Duke technical fouls.
Well, let me back up and say if there's 3 unsportsmanlike technicals, that's the coach's limit. Now, none of them have to be on him, but if you have 3 unsportsmanlike technicals, then the coach gets thrown out of the game. If the coach gets 2 himself, then he's gone. So a lot of technicals.
This could be a war of attrition. It's all over with. Tucker lays it in.
These are very technical points on that.
17 for Anthony. Deeks within 6. And the crowd becoming a factor with 8 minutes and 25 seconds to go.
And Duke's not going to run the clock as they did the last trip down the court.
Thomas Hill, baseline. No, tipped by Laettner, yes.
Great job by Duke to get it inside to Hill against the smaller McQueen. And again, it's an example of the Wake Forest help coming to the shooter and then nobody being available to block out somebody else. And this time the somebody else is late.
David Rasmussen, number 35, is into the game for Wake. Tucker inside. Tries again, and that time Lang was there to get his way.
Wake Forest has been able to get the ball inside against the Duke zone. You have to convert that particular play the first time around if you're Tucker. The second time, it's a great defensive play by Lang.
62-54, Duke spreading it out.
Geez, what a spot if you're Rasmussen with your thrown basketball game. Of course, he's known as a three-point shooter, so that maybe has something to do with his insertion into the line. Oh, my.
Picked off by Clark was Rasmussen, but Hill left it short. Now McQueen gets it ahead. Here's Rasmussen. Hammered.
Grant Hill nearly blocked that one with his shoe. Derek McQueen did a tremendous job blocking out Lonnie Clark and then getting the rebound and pitching it down the court. McQueen, not an offensive factor today, but that was a great block out and a great attacking pass.
6'9" junior from East Lansing, Michigan. His first point, he had 3 in a starting role against Davidson here Wednesday. Rasmussen, you mentioned his 3-point proficiency, 12 of 26 this year. Hits them both. 7:03, the time remaining. As we take another look at that last Wake break, it's 62-56 Blue Devils. We'll be back after this word from our friends at Bud Light. More x-rays on Wednesday, and the Duke people were telling us today that they're going to take another look at that foot. Maybe Clemson, maybe Carolina in the regular season finale, but more than likely Bobby is going to return for the ACC tournament, and all Duke fans concerned about that right foot of Mr. Hurley. It's his brother, by the way, Danny, plays for Seton Hall. He didn't play last night. He's out with a flu, didn't make the trip to Villanova. Wildcats beat the Pirates last night in Philadelphia.
Well, of course, for Mike Krzyzewski, if you're going to make a mistake with Bobby Hurley, you'd rather bring him back too late than too soon.
Absolutely. Yeah, the payoff window these days is the NCAA tournament.
That's right.
62-56, Duke leading.
Boy, what a screen Thomas Hill just laid on Trelawney Owens. Nothing came from that, but Hill really gave him a pop.
Shot clock 12, 11, 10. Thomas Hill, baseline. Yes.
That was a tremendous shot against very good defense. Nothing more Derek McQueen could have done on that particular play. That's just great offense.
64-56. Rasmussen doesn't even have room to sweat. Grant Hill up on him. Here's Tucker. And the foul. Thomas Hill. His second.
Duke could not have played that particular play any better than they did, Bob. We're seeing another example where Wake Forest just makes a great offensive play. That was a perfect pass and the perfect catch, and Hill committed the foul, but there was very little else that he could have done.
Anthony Tucker steps to the line once again. He has scored 17, but missed his last 2 foul shot opportunities.
Hands up. Right, it's your boys.
Tucker is forced back to that big guard position. Coach Dave Odom.
Is that blood on the back of Tucker's shorts there?
Yes, I think it is. He may have a cut on his finger, perhaps, that when he goes to hitch up those shorts, got a little blood stain.
Well, I can understand why people would have blood stains in this particular basketball game. This has been rock'em sock'em.
Yeah, this has been
most of the game.
From the School of Hard Knocks. Colors black and blue. 64-57 Duke. Again, Duke spreads the floor. Working that shot clock down before getting into its set.
Well, this is a little bit of lineup for Wake Forest to play against that spread. Trelawney Owens, a little quicker than Medlin, might be able to stay with Laettner outside. 9 seconds on the shot clock.
Grant Hill going to work against Tucker. Laettner down the lane, dumps it off. A foul. The basket. Let's see if it counts. Yes, they count it.
Tremendous patience by the Duke Blue Devils, not panicking. The shot clock is running down. Laettner's driving to the basket. He had a shot. It would have been a difficult one, but he spotted Thomas Hill underneath the basket and dumped him the ball. When the whistle blew, there was 1 second left on the shot clock. You can't play the shot clock any better than that.
Thomas Hill, folks, has scored 20 points in this game.
And remember, Derek McQueen is yet to score yet, and Thomas Hill's been matched up against him when Duke has been playing the man-to-man, so Hill has had a tremendous game on both ends of the court.
Yeah, the only contribution really for McQueen has been the technical foul shots.
And we have had a bunch of technicals in the game. And again, if you joined us late, Christian Laettner has 2 technical fouls. Antonio Lang got 1.
Tucker 20 for Tucker today. And Wake Forest has taken a timeout with 4:51 remaining. It's an 8-point deficit for the Deacons, and will continue after these words. Bob Rathman, Dan Bonner back in Winston-Salem. Duke's leading by 8, but a couple interesting points to make, Dan. One is the Wake Forest team foul situation. They've still got 3 to give before Duke goes to the 1-1, so it's going to allow Dave Odom to go for some steals, a gambling defense to get back in it here.
And I think that's an important point. You've got to play very, very aggressively. You don't particularly worry about the foul because you do have those 3 to give.
Each team has 2 timeouts left. Owens pokes it away from Laettner. There's
That's exactly what you're talking about. You can afford to be very aggressive here. Tucker gets the foul. But again, you play that aggressive defense. You try to get the basketball. This is only an 8-point game, but the way this game has gone, it's been a rather slowly paced game. 8 points actually is a pretty big lead. Laettner going to bring it up himself.
And out of bounds, tipped away by Owens.
And that's what I was talking about just before the break, that Owens, a little quicker than Medlin, is able to stay with Laettner a bit better.
Spot, man, stay there.
Davis gets it into Grant Hill.
And you'll note that they've switched, and McQueen is now matched up against Grant Hill on the defensive end.
Laettner back out to Thomas Hill. Duke with the luxury of the lead, taking their time, burning that clock.
They did it very effectively in their last possession, running the clock down to 1 before scoring.
Now stands at 11. Grant Hill, whistle, 5-second violation.
That's why you put Derek McQueen on Grant Hill. McQueen able to exert great pressure on the basketball.
One thing we haven't seen that much with Grant Hill at the point are teams coming after Grant, getting his shirt, and really playing heads up. Inside, Rogers, Grant Hill there, tied up, jump ball and hell ball, possession to Duke.
And that's, as a result, that's a turnover. Great defensive hustle inside.
Third Wake turnover this half, 12 for the game. But a costly miscue.
And we're waiting while we get the floor wiped up.
3:58 left. Pressured by the Deeks. McQueen on Grant Hill.
Boy, that was pretty close to over and back. Laettner got those feet down just in time.
Laettner throws to the wing. Grant Hill whips it inside. Thomas Hill blocked by Tucker. Deacons, though, are still trailing by 8.
They've made a couple of very fine defensive plays, but you need to score.
Rogers double. Back out to McQueen. He hasn't hit one all day, but hits one now. And the Deacons take a timeout. Down by 5, 67-62 Duke with 3:23 remaining. We'll be right back.
Wake Forest draws to within 5, and Derek McQueen, who has been relatively quiet all day, 0 of 5 from three-point range before that shot, cans it. That's what cuts the lead to 67-62. McQueen only 1 of 7 from the field overall, now 2 of 8.
Foul trouble. Davis picked up his 4th with 14 minutes to go in the game. And of course, Rogers had 3 in the first half, none in the second.
And you cannot say that Rogers has played delicately in the second half. He's been out there banging away.
They don't call him the Durham Bull for nothing.
Now, Laettner's got those 2 personal fouls. Christian Laettner also has 2 technical fouls. So Christian Laettner can't afford anything like hanging on the rim or touching the basketball after it goes through the hoop.
Both teams have shot spectacularly well. Duke 63, Wake 58. 5-point Duke lead. Deacons still have 2 fouls to give. Even though they're spreading the floor, Duke still has to attack the basket and look for points.
Absolutely, and Grant Hill was open for just a moment underneath, and Christian Laettner thought about getting him the ball.
Davis slides through, missed the lay-in, but it's out of bounds to Duke. King couldn't hang on to it.
Tremendous move by Davis to the basket. He couldn't convert. And it's really, watch as Davis misses this shot. He stays right there, stops, gets his hand on the basketball, and he's actually the reason that King couldn't control it. Under 3 minutes.
And Owens going for the steal, and Tucker ends up with it, with Laettner back. Tucker all the way, and fouled by Laettner. Third foul on Laettner, and Tucker will go to the line. And a smart play by Laettner to deny the layup and put him at the line.
Laettner made sure that he wasn't going to convert the three-point play. We talked about Trelawney Owens. He knocks it away, and then Grant Hill kicks it away. Now Laettner's just going to measure him. There's no way he's scoring that basket. He wants an intentional foul, and since Laettner was making a legitimate play on the ball, it's no intentional foul. But if a guy's going to go up in that situation, you belt him across the arm so hard, there's no way he can score, and that's exactly what Laettner did.
Tucker comes back to stick the foul shot.
For the Blue Devils, however, they've come down 3 times now and turned the ball over without scoring any points. We said the 8-point lead was a big one in a game like this, but it's not that big if Mike Krzyzewski's team can't score.
3-point Duke lead, 2:40 left. And this crowd is very noisy. Marty Clark gets it to Davis. He moves in. Now back out.
Oh, what a spot for Clark, huh?
And Rogers on it. Thomas Hill. Shot clock at 20 seconds. Duke doesn't have enough points to win. I don't think. 67. They've still got to look at the bucket. 2:10 to play. And a steal. McQueen's got it. Grant Hill. McQueen to Owens. He fakes it. Scores, and a foul on Grant Hill. McQueen had nowhere to go and shoveled it to the trailing Owens. This place is going bananas. Trelawney Owens looking to cap a 10-0 run that would tie the game if he can hit this foul shot.
McQueen made a great play, Bob. A lot of guys would have gone down there and thrown the shot up, but McQueen made the pivot, turned around, and this guy hustling down the court.
Tied at 67. First tie since late in the first half at 39 all. 67-67. Duke with it.
Bob, and I think the pressure that Derek McQueen's been able to exert on the basketball has been significant in this run.
The Duke 8-point lead is evaporated, but Brian Davis will go to the line.
Davis got himself down in the corner. 5-second count was approaching the end, so he really had to shoot the ball, drew the foul.
Chris King's third foul, and Davis to the line. For today, he's 3 for 3 and has scored 11 points. Shooting 2. Duke leads by 1, a dozen for Davis. Wade brings it up, 1:42 to play.
Duke in that zone.
Rogers in the corner. Goes into a double team. Skips it across to Tucker. Scores, and Wake Forest leads by 1. 24 for Anthony Tucker. A minute 19 left.
Wake still has a foul to give. They can be very aggressive on defense.
It's been a week for the underdog in the ACC. Grant Hill, it rolls off, and we've got a foul on Tucker on the arm. Third on Anthony.
And Tucker reacting very, very aggressively to that foul call. You've got to be careful in that situation. You're very intense, you're very emotional, but you don't want to pick up a technical right there.
Now Grant Hill. 0 for 2 at the line today. And it drops out. That hit every inch of iron available, it seemed. 1:08 to play. Deacons 69. Duke 68.
Gotta get the net, not the iron.
Missed them both. A 76% foul shooter. Grant Hill's 0 for 4 at the line. And Wake looking to attack the basket now. With a minute to play, they'll take their final timeout, sitting on a 1-point lead. The focus of concentration is on Wake Forest. They've got to get the ball in, and then they've got 36 seconds on the possession clock.
And I think that's the important point, Bob. There's almost 59 seconds left in the game. There's 36 seconds left on the shot clock. So Wake Forest, absent a Duke foul, is not going to be able to hold the ball till the end of the game. They're going to have to take a shot.
And Duke coming out with its overplay man-to-man. King hands it over.
And Duke does not need to foul in this situation. They have to play tough defense. Force Wake Forest into a tough shot. 15 on the shot clock.
Rogers out to McQueen. Deacons leading by a point. Here's McQueen shoving. Owens dropped it. Maybe not anticipating the pass, but it's out of bounds, and Duke will have it. 28 seconds to play. I think Owens was figuring McQueen was going to drive and shoot.
The Deacons no longer have any fouls to give. The next foul puts the Duke at the Blue Devils at the line for 1-1. That's the time left in the game.
Duke is down a point. Same spot they were in against Maryland Thursday. Grant Hill to Thomas out to travel. Thomas Hill went down, came up, traveled, and the Deacons with a 1-point lead in the ball. Trelawney Owens to get it in. 13.1 seconds remaining.
You're going to see a foul right here.
And it's on Brian Davis. He's fouled out of the game. Chris King will be the man at center stage.
And he'll be at the line for a 1-and-1. King, 2/3 of the time, hits him.
He has hit, Dan, 16 of his last 20 foul shots, but has not been to the line in this game. Marty Clark will be the Duke sub, and Mike Krzyzewski using the time allotted to make some final points, and Clark comes in. 11.8 seconds.
Well, if you're the Duke Blue Devils, even if he misses the free throw, you've got to take the ball down to the offensive end and do something that Duke has not done very effectively for the last 3 minutes of this ball game, and that's score.
King to the line. Wake Forest leads by 2. 70-68. 11.8 seconds to go in the game. Tipped out to McQueen. Wake leads by 2. Duke will be forced to foul. Rogers fouled by Hill with 5.2 seconds left. Now the Deacons really have a chance to put it out of reach here. There's only 5.2 seconds left. If they can both free throws, they can just about nail it down.
But for Dave Odom's squad, that big if with canning the free throws.
Indeed.
That's not money in the bank for Wake Forest.
King just went 1 for 2. but they were fortunate enough to get the offensive rebound. And Rogers, 69% of the line, but he hasn't been to the line today. And he's got a 1-and-1.
Great tip out by Owens.
Duke's got a chance. They call the timeout. 4.5 seconds left. And the Blue Devils will have the basketball, trailing by 2.
Bob, strategically, if you're Mike Krzyzewski and the Duke Blue Devils, you don't need the three-point shot. In other words, you don't have to take some wild shot just to win the basketball game. I'm sure the Duke Blue Devils would be happy if they could get out of here, particularly given this situation with getting the game into overtime. So if you're Wake Forest, you have to defend the whole court. It's not like the situation that Georgia Tech had earlier, where all they had to worry about earlier against Virginia, where all they had to worry about was defending the three-point shot. Yesterday, Virginia's down 3. They have to take the three-point shot. In this situation, Wake Forest up by only 2. The Duke Blue Devils can take the 3, so Wake does have to defend that. But Duke can also get the ball closer to the basket, and so that has to be a concern for Wake Forest as well. The key here, though, is with 4.5 seconds, you don't have any time at all for any fooling around.
I was just going to say, Dan, to you, advancing the basketball in that initial pass of the court is so crucial.
Dave Odom is telling his players, if they're going to catch the ball, make them catch it in front of you. For his team, he doesn't want any passes going over their heads. You want to make them catch the ball so they have to penetrate by your entire team. You don't want them to throw it over the top.
Duke's got to go 94 feet. Grant Hill, long down to Laettner. He's got it. And off the travel. Oh, he stepped out of bounds. He stepped out of bounds. A tremendous heave by Grant Hill.
That's really a great pass by Grant Hill. Laettner simply can't control it. You see his foot clearly out of bounds.
Now the Deeks throw it into the hands of Chris King, and he's fouled by Grant with 1 second to play. It's not over yet, but the Deacons are feeling awfully good about things. The free throws would lock it up. Chris King, who has been a 4-year starter for the Deacons, scored 31 against Duke as a freshman in the ACC tournament, has a chance to close out his final shot at the Devils at home by sealing the victory. 71-68. If he hits this one, the Deacons are assured of the victory. Laettner will toss it. The Deacons continue the upset trend in the ACC. The students storm the court, and they should be careful. There's a lot of folks in there celebrating the Wake Forest upset win of #1 Duke. 72-68 the final score. Well, for the first time since Bobby Hurley went out with that foot injury, the Blue Devils have lost, and a 10-point lead with 5